Viewers of Little People, Big World believe Chris Marek should take things slow when it comes to Matt Roloff. Amy Roloff had no idea that her future husband would be infatuated with her ex-wife when she started seeing Chris after her and Matt's highly public breakup. However, as we have seen throughout the previous few seasons of Little People, Big World, Chris and Matt quickly became friends. Even though Amy has made it clear that she doesn't like the bromance between Chris and Matt, her husband continues to ask Matt for guidance and hang out with him. In addition to Amy, a lot of Little People, Big World fans disagree with Chris's friendship with her ex-husband. We had another unpleasant interaction this week on Little People, Big World, when Amy and Chris went to see Matt and Karen. Chris and Matt continued as normal, even though we could feel Amy's agony via our TV displays. His lack of remorse over his connection with Matt has been upsetting Little People, Big World followers, who this week resorted to social media to vent their frustrations. Many program viewers voiced their unease on X, previously Twitter, when they saw Chris swoon over Matt. It was generally agreed upon that Chris was acting in an unsettling manner. After seeing this week's show, one X user said that Chris spoke about Matt for 90% of it. A different Little People, Big World fan expressed dissatisfaction with both the entire cast and the program. They labeled Chris weird during their tirade and said he only wanted to be on TV and didn't care about Amy. Huff questioned, what is Chris's preoccupation with Matt? It's simply eerie. Other people also spoke up, criticizing Amy's spouse of almost 3 years. Although one reviewer couldn't quite put their finger on why they didn't like Chris, they did observe that there was something about him. Additionally, they implied that Chris doesn't really desire to spend out with Matt outside of TLC, saying that he simply acts like they're best friends for the sake of the network's cameras. Another Little People, Big World watcher speculated, I think Chris will ask Matt if he could be his best man. The unlikely notion of Chris being Matt's best man is not that far-fetched. It was on this week's TLC show when Matt and Karen made jokes about Chris becoming Matt's right-hand guy for their wedding. About the possibility, the three of them made jokes, Chris describing it as a bit strange. Chris talked about the talk of him being Matt's best man in a solitary confessional. When Matt stated something about my being the best man, it was obviously a joke. Chris said to the TLC cameras, knowing that it probably wasn't as humorous to other people, I suppose, contributed to part of its humor. He said, laughing, I guess that's kind of mean. A problem with Zach Roloff's father, Matt Roloff, that plagued earlier seasons of the program has brought an end to Zach's involvement on Little People, Big World. In 2006, Zach made his television debut on Little People, Big World Season 1, appearing alongside his family. At the age of 13, after more than 18 years, viewers have seen Zach mature from an adolescent to a man with 3 children, Josiah Roloff, Lila, and Jackson, and a wife named Tori. Yet Zach Roloff had a lot of expectations as he was the first kid in the family, along with his twin, Jeremy Roloff. On Little People, Big World, things altered a little bit even though the family had early success. After her marriage to Matt collapsed, Amy Roloff wed Chris Marek. In the meanwhile, Jeremy departed the program with his wife Audrey Roloff to focus on other endeavors. Zach was dedicated to his father and his work on the family farm, which he thought he would one day oversee, even in the face of these upheavals and departures. Tori and Zach have already announced their departure from Little People, Big World. However, Zach had an unpleasant awakening when Matt sold off a portion of the property. Zach's desire growing up on the Roloff farms was to one day oversee the grounds. Since Matt bought the farm in 1990, it had served as the family's residence and primary source of income. Zach, being the eldest child, had always felt he was groomed to either take over or help with the agricultural operations in the future. In addition, Amy sold Matt her portion of the Roloff farms with the understanding that he would eventually transfer the property to one or more of their children when it became apparent that Matt and Amy's marriage was on the verge of dissolution. But Matt shocked everyone when, without consulting any of his kids, he listed their original family house and 16 acres of the farm for sale. The father-son rivalry between Matt and Zach began when Zach perceived Matt's move as the ultimate betrayal from his father, despite the fact that most of the kids were unhappy with Matt's decision. When Matt gave Zach the land for $4 million, a sum he knew his son couldn't afford, he just made matters worse. Zach came to understand from Matt's choices that his father had no intention of handing him the property, even if he was a slave. Zach's connection with his father deteriorated when he realized Matt had no intention of ever giving up the property. In 2020, their conflict erupted on social media when Zach accused his father of manipulating the narrative following Matt's strange accusation that his boys were the reason he sold a portion of the property. Zach saw that his family's future did not lie in Matt's antics, and afterward, he moved his wife Tori and their kids, Jackson, Lila, and Josiah, to a large home in Battleground, Washington, where they could work on their own projects. Whatever remained of Zach's connection with Matt suffered as a result of his choice to leave the Roloff farms. Matt's desire to stay in touch with his grandkids played a major role in many of the father-son exchanges that occurred after his father faded from the family's life. Apart from the conflict between them, Zach and his family's relocation to Washington also resulted in a steady decrease in their involvement in the program. Zach's relationship with Matt never improved. So while his last statement that he and his family were leaving Little People, Big World may have shocked some, it was also predictable. It had appeared that Matt and Zach would never get back together after their falling out. When Matt purchased his kid a lawnmower, he made an effort to placate Zach by remarking, "Maybe the mower may help begin the process of saying, hey, let's proceed." Zach wasn't shy about expressing his gratitude for the present, even if it didn't ease their strained relationship. Zach and Matt had been apart for over 4 years. During the season 25 finale of Little People, Big World, Zach took a seat to discuss their future together. Since the ship had gone on hopes for reconciliation, Zach has moved on from attempting to patch things up with Matt, and their friendship isn't as strong as it once was. Zach is concentrating on taking care of his family and doing his own thing rather than attempting to patch things up. Zach feels that Matt and Zach's relationship will never be the same, even if time may help things between them become better and perhaps even heal. Zach's youth included much of the outdoor lifestyle of Roloff farms, but it won't be the same for his kids. With the hope of eventually taking over the Roloff farms, Zach spent the most of his adult life serving as his father Matt's sidekick. Zach, nevertheless, has made an effort to emerge from his father's shadow and forge his own identity ever since he discovered Matt had no intention of giving it to him. Zach's first action was to transfer his family to Washington so they could try things out away from his father and start again as a family. Raising Heights is the podcast that Zach and Tori started in February. Fans of Little People, Big World have taken to Zach and Tori's podcast in droves. In an initial episode, the pair disclosed their intention to leave the show. Prior to his relocation, Zach led competitive young soccer teams in Oregon and took part in many international dwarf soccer competitions. It wouldn't be shocking to see him lace up his boots once more in Washington. Zach intends to spend the upcoming years establishing himself outside of Little People Big World, having spent a large portion of the previous 18 years as one of the show's primary protagonists with his father.